Okay, welcome back to our video series, video 11, management tip, mindset ideas and microbe applications. So today is water quality, water in the role of calf health. And if this is the jigsaw, water is only a small piece of the jigsaw, but this is ultimately what I think about calf health, that it's many pieces of the jigsaw. Like microbes, again, is a piece of jigsaw. It's a tool in calf rearing. We never expect it to transform calf health on its own. You need to put good management with microbes to deliver really good results. So water is one of these pieces, and water, from a kind of know from ourselves, from a health point of view down to cellular function, to so many things, water is key. We do make the mistake, young calves are drinking milk or they're getting fluids. That milk is going through the esophageal groove into the stomach. One of the important things we need to think about water with calves is actually weaning and rumen development. When we think about the rumen, when calves drink water, so we want water with calves from early, day 1, day 2, day 3, early they can drink water. When calves have a young rumen, that water is going in and we're getting fermentable fibers in there with microbial development. It's that fermentation that we're creating, that development of that rumen. And I'm going to talk about weaning later on as well, because a lot of people are talking about one of our big challenges now in calf rearing is beyond weaning, it's summer scar syndrome. Actually, summer scar syndrome, no matter what we do with calves, can be an issue on farm. But one of the areas we do see is probably poor rumen development and poor weaning, leading to calves that are more susceptible to issues when they turn out to grass. But so when we think about water, we need to think about it from a cellular function, health perspective, but also rumen development. Also, really critically, when we're mixing up milk replacer, if we have, we're putting in powder, fats, proteins, we talked about in the last video, into water that has high TBCs or bacterial counts, we can actually create a lot of issues. So clean water for milk replacer is really key. Whether it's mains or whether it's well water, which often has been used on farm, it's good to know the quality. One simple tip is, in seasonal calving systems, we often have calf sheds with header tanks, and those header tanks are holding water, and they often are pretty dormant for 7 or 8 months of the year. Look into the header tank in advance of calving and give it a clean out. Is there a biofilm or slime? Because if we're using that water to mix milk replacer, if we're feeding that water into automated feeders and there is biofilm, we'll often see high TBCs, and I've talked a lot about that before. So your water going in might be clean, but if it's stagnant or sitting there between calving seasons, it can be an issue. If we're testing water on farm, I always say go to the source where whether you're feeding milk replacer or at the automated feeder, a simple TBC, bacterial count, can be done by the local council. Ahead of calving is a useful thing to do, but just clean out the header tank. A lot of farmers get more interested in water, so manganese, nitrate, sulfates, and iron, they can all affect water quality. That's a more detailed look at it, but clean water going into young calves early is really important. Mindset tip for today, it's an interesting one. It's a little bit deeper. It's this idea between stimulus and response. There's a space. So there's no perfect farms, there's no perfect people. When things go wrong, there is this kind of space between the stimulus, things happening, and how we respond, and that comes down to our attitude. And I think it's really important that attitude determines outcome. So we all have a choice on how we respond to anything. So just remember, attitude determines outcome, and that space between stimulus and response. A little bit deeper on the mindset today, and I have this quote: no matter what's going on, I go back to the healthy person wants everything, the sick person wants only one thing. So looking after our own health, remember what's important, even in the busy times. Health is wealth for ourselves, not just our calves. Microbes tips today, again, it's a tool in calf rearing. And certainly when we see long-term feeding, we're seeing better weaning, because I think we're playing a role in not just gut health, but rumen health. When it comes to storage, a cold start to the year, we don't want to freeze microbes. They're live liquid beneficial microbes. So avoiding excessive heat, which is not a problem in Irish seasonal systems, but in countries as far away as Australia who are using our product, it's another challenge. But we don't want microbes when we're storing them, keep them out of freezing conditions if it is very cold. That's your microbes tip for today. So management, water, mindset, that gap between stimulus and response, attitude determines outcome, and microbes, 30 mils daily in milk, a game changer in gut health. See you for video 12 tomorrow.